We finally had our first taste of feeder series action in 2026, and much like last year, the Formula Regional Oceania was once again good for a couple of big surprises. Hello and welcome fellow motorsports fans. In the next 10 minutes we'll talk all about both the expected and surprising top performers over in the rebranded CTFROT, the Dan Ticktum drama in Formula E, and of course the first bit of karting action in 2026, so let's get straight to it. Let's begin with the professionals for a change, more specifically the Formula E weekend and all of the drama surrounding that one. I'm sure most of you have caught the Dan Ticktum drama, but for those who haven't, basically he called out the stewards and his fellow competitors for the general lack of driving standards after getting taken out once again. And at this point we're probably all thinking, sure, he worded it poorly, but I can get on board with the general message. But then things sort of started escalating on social media, where Ticktum couldn't help but prove that he is still a bit of a pathetic excuse of a human being, ironically while claiming he had grown up since his childhood incidents. Personally, anyone who thinks it's reasonable to leverage a good financial situation to insult those less well off can go fuck himself. That really was one disgusting statement, and the subsequent spiraling in Insta stories just made it more fun, to be honest. All of that said, when referring back to this incident in the future, we shouldn't forget that his original point still has some value. Driving standards in Formula E do indeed need some work. Now, to the actual racing with one key thing to take away. I've speculated about that last year, and this run just reassured me that Nick Cassidy is the single best driver in the world when it comes to the specific energy-savvy style of racing required to succeed at Formula E. The way that man just spawns at the front like clockwork late in the races is phenomenal to watch, and with a new team as well this time. Really, I think only Ollie Rowland is giving him a run for his money when talking about best Formula E drivers, and I find it rather hard to make a case for anyone else. But feel free to disagree with me in the comments with that one. Wehrlein is up there with the raw speed, but seems much better the more traditional the actual racing is unfolding. In general, Porsche kinda just missed an opportunity this race with all the late race chaos, but at least we can confirm both the general pace of the team and, more importantly, Nico Müller looking rather comfortable in his new office. Definitely the big contenders on the manufacturer side so far, I reckon. Last but not least, a quick shout out for rookie and Formula 2 graduate Pepe Marti. After a horrific incident in the season opener, it's quite nice to see him score his maiden points this soon, even if he did rely on all the chaos ahead. Staying out of said chaos is definitely a key skill set in Formula E anyway. Let's see if he can start pushing Ticktum later in the season, though that is quite a big task. The short and spicy Formula Regional Oceania trophy season is here, and the first round at Hampton Downs did already give us a good idea of who the big title players might be, though I'm certainly not buying all of them just yet. Ugo Ugochukwu has been the best driver by a long shot and was only a slightly better start in race 1 away from taking 3 wins out of the 4. Really nothing to add. We knew he'd be a big player, and he more than delivered in that regard. Surprisingly, the rest of M2 did not look that great in comparison, with his experienced title rival Freddie Slater not able to challenge for any wins just yet. In general, High-Tech and M-Tech arguably looked better across the board than M2. Just for the record, Louis Sharp looked like one of the best drivers of the weekend, but got slapped by 2 penalties. Guy is definitely looking hungry for the title as well. Jin Nakamura leading the charge for High-Tech is not entirely unexpected, and the Toyota Junior looked rock solid across the weekend, showing none of the unnecessary incidents that held him back in Freca last year. Way more surprisingly, his usually somewhat subpar teammate Kanato was also consistently at the front and somehow left the weekend with 3 podiums. All in all, easily the most unexpected twist coming into this weekend, I'd say. It's not like Lee has been terrible before, but I did expect him to be kinda out of his depth here, at least when talking about the upper half of the pack. Then again, apparently it is a good series for unexpected results, as Zack Scoular also found himself looking way better than during his European season once again, much more like the guy we saw race here last year. Sure, the win was a comfy reverse grid affair, but nevertheless, there clearly is something about Scoular on his home tracks that he just couldn't replicate in Europe so far. Looking at our pair of high-profile single-seater newcomers, Ryan Wood really hit the ground running and put on a proper show despite some incidents on Sunday holding him back in the championship standings. He's not here for a title challenge, we've talked about that in last week's video, but at this rate he'll probably pick up a win or two. Rovanpera meanwhile did struggle a fair bit, all things considered, but we knew this was a likely outcome. I've got to say, I thought these social media reactions to his DNF were hilarious. I don't know how some people managed to read into this that him going to single-seaters will be a disaster, even if we completely ignore the fact that Menson put him in the gravel trap in the first place. Anyway, classic online reactions, I suppose. Last but not least, Finn McLaughlin also had a rather slow start to his first weekend in Quicker Machinery, but in his case, I've got no doubt that he'll pick it up as we progress through the short championship. Sadly, that was already all the single-seater action for this week, but of course the world of karting has also woken up for some winter championships to check out in our quick weekly karting report. For our first karting report of the year, we've had the one-off Rotex Max Winter Cup at Campos, which saw large parts of the Rotex Euro Trophy regulars attend their first race of 2026. In the minis, the actual final was all about Austin Oman, who by all accounts did drive a brilliant race, only to earn himself a 10-second penalty for overtaking on the formation lap. Definitely a bit of a silly way to lose a race. Instead, the win went to impressive newcomer Logan Rolfe. At least I don't think I've ever seen him race before, and he was already giving Oman a run for his money on track, even without the penalty drama, so I'd suggest looking out for him this year as well. In the juniors, it was all about young Danny Babicek finally finding another win, and he did it in pretty comfortable fashion as well. He was the man to beat all weekend long and proved it in the final by building a gap early and defending against chalk in the closing stages. I sincerely hope this was a bit of a teaser for the rest of the year. Now that Babicek is driving for a big team with DHR, I reckon he'll be a serial frontrunner. And finally, Macaulay Bishop picked it right back up where we left the reigning Rotex World Champion 2025 by dominating the final in disgusting fashion. Since car racing isn't in his budget, I'd really love to see him try his luck on the FIA stage as well. Guy really is a monster in this category. The other notable drive came from Scott Marsh, who is a regular over in that world, and while not a regular frontrunner, he is usually a safe bet to make the final and often around the top 10 as well. This weekend he put up a rock-solid defensive drive to hold on to P2 while Bishop was flying off to his comfy victory, and I think that does deserve a mention. Let's see if he'll be around this paddock more often in the future. And that is already it for the week. Next week we'll finally get a look at a rather exciting Middle Eastern portion of the Winter Series landscape. But first, it is your time to drop all of your thoughts and opinions about the racing gone by down in the comments so we can get our lovely little discussion going, and you might as well include some predictions for the Middle East. I'm going with K&B for the Formula Regional Trophy, and I'll gamble on Christian Costoya to hit the ground running in the rebranded UAE 4. And otherwise, I thank you all for watching, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.